Scilly Stories, getting to know the people of Scilly. Welcome to our new Scilly Stories podcast. We are two women living and working in the Isles of Scilly, off the coast of Cornwall, but we love getting to know both local people and visitors and learning more about our island home and its histories and traditions. Our hope is that this podcast will grow and develop, and we hope to interview many different people about island life and what makes Scilly special or different. This is our very first episode where Kylie and I interview each other in an effort to help listeners get to know us a little better. It is by no means polished, and you may hear us stumbling over our words or dogs in the background upset at being shut out of our kitchen studio. Please forgive the interruptions and the unfinished feel, but do join us, perhaps with a cup of tea and a slice of cake. Hi Kylie.
Hello Erica, how are you?
Well, thanks. I thought we'd just maybe start today just interviewing each other so that the listeners can understand who we are, what we're doing, why we're running this podcast.
Sounds like a great idea, yeah.
So if I interview you to start with.
Okay, go for it.
Ask you a few questions. So to begin with, what brought you to Scilly?
Well, actually, we always used to come on... This is quite a common story, I think, for over here. But we always used to come over on holiday with my family for gig weekend. We were a rowing
what sort of
family.
Age was that?
I think from about 10ish, maybe. Whenever kind of gig rowing took off, my parents used to row. So we always used to come over for gig weekend. And then they made some friends. And then one year I was asked to house sit for some people that they'd met over here for 3 weeks. And then I ended up staying a bit longer. And then the usual thing happened. I'm here.
Never left.
Yeah, 15 years later. I came for 3 weeks and I'm here 15 years later. Which is quite a common story you hear over here, isn't it? Yeah, so that's how I ended up staying, really. I guess what attracts me to over here is that really small time community living. I quite like the old-fashioned way of life and, you know, being held accountable for being a good community member. And so I think naturally...
Well, what do you mean by that? Why do we hold you accountable?
Well, I think you just get out what you put in over here, don't you? You know, like the more you put in, the more you get out. And so it's kind of accountability for your happiness, isn't it? The more effort you put into being a good community member, the more joy you get out of living here. And I quite like that. That's something that drives me, I guess,
That's
in my
actually
life.
one of your questions here. You said, what do you feel you add to the community on the island?
Ooh, that's hard to answer with being humble, isn't it? How do you answer that without sounding arrogant? I don't know, really. What makes me a good community member? I guess for me, and you'll know this obviously being friends, but food security is something that I'm really passionate about. Knowing where your food comes from, eating seasonally. And so I think my service is probably like trying to improve the food security of the islands and how can we make that more self-sufficient.
So what sort of things, to people that have never really met you, what sort of things have you been doing?
Yeah, so I set up a farmer's market over here. It's not actually currently happening anymore, but I did set up a farmer's market over here so that small-time producers can sell their wares. I'm currently part of a project trying to fight for having an abattoir over here because I just think welfare-wise... and also, again, food security, you know, control back within the islands.
So what happens at the moment? The animals go away,
the animals go away to be processed, yeah. We have a market garden, we grow veg, we produce duck meat in the past, we produce beef. Hopefully we're going to look at producing milk. So within the farm, we're producing quite a lot of food and always encouraging to work with other people. So we're always keen to have partners on the farm who are willing to work alongside us to have their own business to produce food. So basically any way that we can produce more food and make that accessible for the islands the better, really.
Yeah, you've had market gardeners and people in the past, haven't you?
Yeah. So we often have kind of people coming through, and but also always open to ideas. If a local came up to us tomorrow and said, hey, I've got this really great idea, I want to use one of your fields to grow this, and can we work in partnership, we would just be, over the moon. So we're always keen to kind of work with people to produce more food, because I think generally, that's really important for us over here.
I think generally it's quite lacking in Scilly.
Yeah, massively.
I think that was really, really obvious during COVID, when, suddenly there was nothing in the shops, and we suddenly panicked that there might not be a supply ship. And then, Scilly's then very vulnerable, isn't it?
Definitely. And I think this year we've had a lot of, 3 shops close. So we're completely reliant on one shop for all of our food. And then there was a ordering problem, wasn't there? And then the freezers broke, and, you're really feeling that then. Really feeling it. And like you say, it just kind of makes you suddenly very vulnerable. Like tomorrow, if the ship broke, or if something happens, we're not, I don't know, what do we do then? Go back to like hunting seabird eggs? We're kind of a bit past that, and eating limpets. We kind of need to find this like middle ground of like, okay, we need a little bit more resilience than relying 100% of our food from the co-op. Makes us a bit vulnerable. Yeah.
What would you say are the best things about living in Scilly?
Being connected to the seasons and nature, like that dip in the winter of feeling tired and feeling a bit depressed because it's really dark, and then like awakening in the spring. You cannot get away with it because you have to be outside for a certain period of the day.
Did you not find on the mainland, did you feel less connected when you were on the mainland? Or?
I don't know. Maybe I was and I didn't realise it, but I think here it doesn't matter who you are, you can't get away from that. Seasonality.
So weather, tides.
Yeah, like everything. Your daily decisions are still made by nature, and I think that's really special because you can get away from that on the mainland, and nature doesn't necessarily rule your life. And I think the ebbs and flows of the seasons, you really feel that in Scilly, and I think you're forced to have that connection with nature. And I think, we all say, oh, if you can do a winter on Scilly, you're all right. And I think it's important to feel a bit like, oh gosh, we're in winter, this is hard, because, it feels like you wake up every spring and it's like, oh, we get to have another go. And I don't know, that just those feelings of those 4 seasons, I really enjoy each one as they come, and I'm really grateful for all of them. Yeah.
I suppose particularly down on the farm.
Yeah.
You really feel it.
Yeah. I'm desperate this time of year for the mud to go and spring to come.
One of the things you're really keen to talk about, I think, is some of the Salonian traditions.
Yeah.
What sort of things have you adopted into your life, Salonian traditions?
Yeah, I think kind of, so my partner's a Salonian, and this is his family farm. So we're 3 generations into this current farm, but I think
Salakee Farm.
Salakee Farm, yeah. But his family have farmed forever. So he's got quite a lot of interesting farming traditions, and I just love things like that. Anything that connects you to the land, to the sea, all things kind of a bit of like ancestral old time living is right up my street.
I remember at school we learnt about Salakee, that it was one of the oldest words.
It's the oldest place name, I think. It's in the Guinness Book of Records.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we've got it somewhere. The 1996 Guinness Book of Records was the last one it was in.
Oh, wow.
And then I think it was like someone who could fit more pegs on their faces overtook something. That's probably more interesting, isn't it? After that. Yeah, it became not that exciting. But yeah, it is meant to be the oldest place name on Scilly. And it means Tin Island randomly.
Okay.
But I don't think they ever mine tin over here. But yeah, going back to the traditions, I love things like we always go winkling on Good Friday. Do you do that?
Yeah, my dad does.
Yeah.
I have to confess I don't often go down. But
yeah, and I do love these, and hopefully when we're doing this podcast we're going to learn more, but I just love talking to the older Salonians and hearing about the things that they did, and it's just creating that community which we're all kind of missing a bit now, aren't we? That real close-knit community of, right, we have to be together to survive. You know, there's not very much food. We need to all go and
When you say we're missing
stuff.
it, do you mean sort of globally? Or?
Yeah, globally, yeah, I think so. You know, we all kind of belong to things now. Like, you know, things define us that not necessarily would have defined us in the past. You know, the things that would have brought you together would have been your, I guess, direct tribe or your direct community, and that would have been about how you survived, how you collected wood for your fire, how you collected food. But now it's very much like either our political views or our sports interests, or, you know, there's different things that define us now. But I guess back then it would have been your direct survival needs that would have brought you together.
I have to say, if there was any kind of global catastrophe, I would be first to move in down here.
You just like the pantry, don't you? The jars full of preserves.
I just, yeah, if there was some sort of national emergency, I just know that you would have it covered. You'd have the food, you'd have the, you know,
the firewood, the food, yeah.
The sauna in the garden. Yeah.
Yeah, well prepared. I sound like someone preparing for some zombie apocalypse.
I think you're ready for it.
Yeah. Right, Erica, your turn. The tables have turned. I get to ask you questions now. So, why Scilly? Tell us, what's your connection to Scilly?
Well, I wasn't born here, which is controversial.
Are we not?
No.
Oh, I thought you were.
No. My family are from here, so on my dad's side, for several generations. But my parents, when they got married, they couldn't afford to buy a property here. They couldn't afford to live here really very easily, so they moved away and they ran pubs in Newquay, I think, and then moved to Falmouth, and then I was born in Falmouth.
Oh, really?
So I was born in Talisk, and then lived in Falmouth for the first 6 years of my life, and then they were able to move back. So
how old were you when they moved back?
6.
Oh, so still pretty young then.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember, I've got vague recollections of mainland life before that, but yeah, most of my childhood was over here really. And I think it is a great place to grow up. I do feel very lucky to have grown up here.
And you've got that real heritage, haven't you? Like having the Hicks name, it's quite a prominent Salonian name, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you feel kind of proud of it?
I do. I feel a little bit, because I'm married now, so I've taken Wes's name, so I'm Erica Swain. But I feel sad. I feel sad to have lost my Hicks name. So I've actually I've taken it back for my artwork. So I've been doing artwork, and I've reclaimed the Hicks, and I've just stayed as Erica Hicks for that, just because I feel it's a little bit sad to have lost a part of to have lost a part of me.
Well, especially when you're from somewhere like this, and the name, I don't know, it's silly, but the name does mean a lot, doesn't it? Like when you're in a small community and everyone can say, oh, well, they are part of that family, and you know, there's quite these prominent families over here, aren't there?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How we, you know, how we do it, how we take the man's name.
Yeah.
As in, you know, other countries like Spain, you keep your name.
Yeah.
And you have the father's and the mother's name. That makes a lot more sense, I think.
Yeah. And so then you went away to uni, didn't you? And then you lived on the mainland for a bit.
Yeah, so everybody goes away at 16. So I went away to college. I went to Truro College for 2 years. Studied A-levels there. And then I took a bit of time out. Went to France, went to Tanzania, and then I went to university went to University of the West of England in Bristol. So I was in Bristol for 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've lived in different places. After that, I spent about a year in Spain, and I've lived in Bournemouth, and I went to Worcester for a couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
Well.
And then what happened then? Was it calling to you? Were you kind of like ready to come back home?
I always liked to come back, so I always came back a lot in the summers. I would like work away and then come back, and I always felt like I was missing out if I wasn't here for the silly season in summer. So I would kind of come back in between jobs and things like that and stay for a bit. But I was in Brighton actually. But it was when my brother died. So
was that what brought you back?
Yeah. So when Lewis died, it was such a shock. Obviously, he died in an accident. As you know, you knew him. But I just really wanted to be home then. I just wanted to be with my parents, with my family. And so, after that, then I moved back.
Yeah, because I was working for your dad at the time. And I remember you coming back, but I couldn't remember that, it was around then, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that, because I remember being just so happy that you were working with him that season, just to sort of support him, really.
Yeah. It was a shitty time, wasn't it?
It was awful, yeah. Sorry. I knew we'd be in tears at some point, but it's not quite so soon.
3 minutes in. It was a massive thing for the community when someone... So Lewis was... How old was he?
He was 24.
24. So when a young member of the community, and he was such a... Everyone knew him, wasn't he? He was so much fun. And he had so much going for him, didn't he? Yeah. He just kind of was... He just shone very brightly, didn't he? And I think when you lose someone like that, I mean, it affected the whole community. And I know I was working with your dad at the time, and it was just heartbreaking. For you guys to go through it, and you're kind of on the stage as the family, aren't you? And everyone wants to hold you, but also give you space. It's such a massive thing when I think something like that happens to a small community. Did you feel that the community... Was it hard, that going through that in a small island community?
I mean, it was obviously devastating going through it, but I think being in the island community really helped. Really? Yeah, I think so. It's hard because, like you say, everybody knows about it, but I think that's probably the same anywhere. But I remember, before that, I used to be worried sometimes about going out, and I'd feel kind of like I wouldn't like to go to the co-op and things like that. Because you go to the co-op and you're very much like on the stage, aren't you? Everybody knows this is like what Scilly is like. Everybody knows about you, what you're up to, if you're away at college or university, and everyone is very well meaning, wants to know what you're up to. So you go to the co-op, for example, and everybody wants to say hello and interview you and find out how it's all going, and which is lovely. But it can be a bit daunting sometimes if you feel like if perhaps things aren't going great, that you've got to pretend that they are. And I would sometimes get a bit anxious about going just to the co-op. But then when Lewis died, obviously, that was magnified a million times. Yeah. And I think other people find it really hard. But that cured me of that completely. Cause,
really?
Because it wasn't a worry anymore, because the worst thing had happened, and that was that Lewis had died. Yeah. And talking to somebody in the co-op really was nothing anymore. So it puts everything into perspective, doesn't it? Really. But it was amazing. The people, like you say, it affects everybody. Yeah. And everybody was just so supportive. We just had a mountain of cards arriving every day at the house, and well wishes, people coming by with meals, and cakes, and just so many amazing things, so many wonderful words and hugs, and it was incredible, really, from a community's perspective. Yeah.
A very sad moment. Erica and I have done this 3 times because we've cried twice. And are both about to cry. Oh gosh. So moving on, you had this awful thing happen to you, but you've just got the most wonderful family, which, as we always joke about, I'm constantly trying to be adopted by. And I have worked with your dad for a few years.
I feel like we have to, in case your own family are listening.
Yeah.
It's not
my colonial family.
It's just over here that you want to be adopted, not generally.
You can have more than one family. Oh, where were we? It's a bit of an emotional one, yours, isn't it? Normally I can't shut up, but in this part. So yes, tell us about your family and the history, like your ancestors on Scilly and.
Blimey, I think we need to get my own family into.
Really?
We have got plans, haven't we, to bring in my dad. I've pre-warned him. I've put the feelers out.
We'll both do that. We'll both just keep nudging constantly.
But it might be better to speak to him about the history. So
what I was going to ask you is, you are very good at being a good community member, and that's something that we kind of both. I think that's something that's both important to us, isn't it? And what do you think you add to the community?
Oh, thanks, Kylie.
I know, it's such a hard question, isn't it?
I don't know, it's not something I think that I'm doing all the time, but I do think it is important just to, to give back, I guess. I don't know, I really like art, and I like craft, and I like doing art and craft. So I do like to sort of run craft activities, for children and things like that. Like at Christmas, I'll perhaps join with Helen and we'll do, Christmas craft activities, or we might do like Easter crafts, or sometimes in the library they do ask if I can run some sort of art activity or something like that. And I enjoy
a doer, aren't you, Erica? I always think of the time when Erica and I were rowing one gig weekend, and we were on one of the beaches and we couldn't quite hear all the commentary. And so, lo and behold, the next day, Erica comes down to the beach carrying a massive speaker on her shoulder, ready to set up a speaker so that everyone could hear. Like, you don't mess around, do you? You are a doer.
Wes was definitely on board for that.
Yeah.
That particular thing. I think we struggle with the technical thing. So that's the thing. I've got the ideas, but then delivery is perhaps not always there. That's the problem.
But the thought is, you are definitely, if you want something done, ask a busy person, and that is you. You are an ultimate busy person that takes on way too much, but generally you're always good for getting things done.
Thanks, kind of. That means a lot.
And talking about your creative side, let's talk about kind of your work over here and what you've done in the past, and what you're currently doing on the islands as a job.
Well, that is a big question. At the moment, I'm running the gallery in town. So my mother, Oriel, as you know, Oriel Hicks, she's a glass artist, and we went into partnership about 8 years ago, and we took on the lease for the gallery in town, or for the shop in town, and we've turned it into a gallery. So we display other artists' work and other craftspeople's work. We do represent quite a few people from Scilly, and then we also show work from artists from further afield as well. And then we do some of our own work, so Oriel makes glass and things, and I design notebooks, tea towels, cards, and I'm trying to develop that at the moment. So I'm trying to do a bit more of my own work. Because before that, Wes and I were house parents, so we've been house parents working for the school for the last 7 years, and we finished that last year.
But you had you did have a not a gallery, what do you call it? You had a studio beforehand, didn't you? And then you kind of had this break where you were house parents, and now you're kind of picking up the creative side again, aren't you?
Yes, that's the plan. Yeah, so I'm just trying to work out at the moment what sort of things that entails. But I really enjoy printmaking.
Yeah. So
I'm doing a bit of liner cut work, liner printing. I've got grand plans for doing Tetra Pak printing. Do you know? Have you heard of that? So that's like a kind of collagraph print where you can cut into board and peel it away, and then like it takes the ink, but it's you can use Tetra Pak, which is like recycled like juice cartons and things like that.
Yeah,
you can use that to print from.
Oh wow!
So I'm quite excited about that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to do it now. I've talked about it.
Yeah. We're holding
I've
you
been planning that
accountable
for
now.
like 2 years, haven't done anything about it.
It's on the podcast now.
It's recorded.
And what about your hobbies on the island? What kind of things do you get up to?
Well, as you know, I love rowing.
Yes.
I particularly love rowing with you.
Oh, thank you.
I hate rowing against you.
We both save most of our aggression for boats, don't
I think we do. Yeah.
We try and be nice in real life, and then we get in a boat and we're very aggressive.
I think speak for yourself, Kylie. All the stories around aggression centre around you. That's why I don't want to be in a different team to you. But yeah, no, we have a lot of good time on the water, don't we?
Yeah.
Love rowing, love swimming.
Yeah.
Really enjoying the new sauna that Bryony set up at Mincarlo.
Oh, what a treat to have
very
one of those
exciting.
over here, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's great for winter, isn't it?
Oh gosh, yeah, very rejuvenating. And I think it's probably quite interesting to tell people about rowing on Scilly, isn't it? You know, it's such a massive part of the culture over here.
It's a huge part of the
I just
community.
can't imagine if you took rowing away, it would be a massive part of just the way the island runs.
Yeah, it would be a huge loss, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know, I just think it's like really interesting how it's so cultural and people hold it really important, and it's
a huge part of our year. For me personally, you know, rowing takes up a huge part of my year. So I've not actually been able to row the season for a while, to be honest. But the winter, we start training, you know, sort of October, November.
Yeah.
Ready for the championships in May, because obviously the championships are huge, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We're really lucky that they're held over here.
I know.
Because we're not very good at going to the mainland, are we?
No.
And so the fact that the World Championship gig rowing happens on the Isles of Scilly, you know.
And it's such a spectacle, isn't it?
Oh, gosh, incredible.
And obviously it's huge in the rowing world, in the gig rowing world. But
yeah.
I think, you know, other visitors and other people don't realise that it takes place even. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, probably not.
It's so huge, and it's just so unlike the rest of Scilly for the rest of the year, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
Just
incredible.
being in so they have one race where you line up with every boat, don't they? And
For the St Agnes race.
Yeah, being on a start line with 120 gigs, all with 7 people in them, is just, it's unbelievable, isn't it? It's like going into battle or something. It's so loud, and yeah, I'm not going to be rowing this year, and I think I'm going to really miss that bit of it, that, you know, those nerves on that first race.
But it's also amazing to watch, you know, if you can see the start of that. It's just...
Yeah, how long's the start line?
Oh, yeah.
It's over a mile long or something, isn't it?
We'll have to get a gig person in, won't we?
Yes. Yeah, we need a gig geek. Yeah. Do you think, so you've obviously been brought up on St Mary's, and most of your family's on St Mary's. Do you think you could live on another of the islands?
I'm sure I could at a push.
Yeah.
But it's funny how we sometimes do talk about living on a different island and think, oh no,
Yeah.
I couldn't live on a tiny island like Briar or St Agnes. And then I catch myself and I think, what am I saying? You know, St Mary's
But
isn't
it is
huge.
a whole different kettle of fish, isn't it? We are like the big city on St Mary's, you know. So
somebody came over yesterday from Tresco and she said, "Oh, it's like being in the big city. It's so exciting." It's so quiet on Tresco at the moment.
And it's quiet here. I've seen 3 people today.
3 more than Tresco.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it is. I'll start that bit again. It is interesting how. Yeah, I always think I don't think I could live on one of the smaller islands.
I think they're more resilient again, aren't they? You know,
definitely.
I think we're quite resilient, but they are an extra level. You know, they really have to think about it, and I think that makes it kind of like goes on to that next question that we, particularly me, loves to talk about, is kind of like food provisions on Scilly, and you know, how do you think we are for that, and how do you think we would cope in a crisis, a global crisis? I know we did have COVID, but you know, if something else happened, if war broke out, if you know, how do you think Scilly as a whole would cope?
I think what you were saying about food, I think that is a huge issue. I think, as soon as you stop a supply vessel coming in, we've got days, let alone weeks to survive. But I think, I think if we got over that part and managed to, plant some vegetables, well, we'd all be down in Salakee and you'd be putting us all to work, I think. But I think once we got over that, I think actually there is a lot of resilience here, and I think we are used to pulling together and working together, and I think Scilly in a crisis is the best place to be. You know, I think everybody's got your back, and people will support each other and back each other. So.
I think, like you say, it's just like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, right, okay, we mean business, we can pull together. And I think people can do that. I think more so on the off islands.
Yeah.
Because there is just slightly less of them. They're more kind of like a tribal number, aren't they?
Something I always... people say, what's it like living on Scilly? People that don't live here. And I think what I always think, my comparison to the mainland is like, the mainland is... you go along and it's, it's quite nice. You can't see where my hand is, but my hand is doing like a
level.
A level. Life is good. It's like on a level and it's good. Whereas I think life on Scilly, it can go bad quite quick. It can go really low. It can be really hard sometimes, but it can be, when it's good, it's amazing and it's better. So it's like you have the two extremes here. That's how I feel. I don't know. I think life on the mainland, is great and it's quite comfortable and it's lovely, but I feel life over here is can be incredible. If a summer's day, out on one of the uninhabited islands, having a picnic with your family, it's just amazing. But on the flip side, if things go wrong, it can be terrible, and everybody knows you and everybody knows about it. So there's no hiding. And I think that can be really difficult, and that can be a shock, I think, sometimes if you're not used to that.
Do you think that's one of the hardest things about living on Scilly?
I think so, yeah. I think there's no anonymity. If you go through a bad time, you go through a bad time, and you're on stage going through that. Yeah.
And what do you think is the best thing about living on the islands?
I think it's the flip side, I think when something does go wrong, everybody's behind you and everybody's supporting you. Yeah. So, like, for example, when Lewis died, it was just amazing, having that huge support network and just having people around to support you is just there for you.
Everyone's just there, aren't they?
Yeah.
And yes, they know things about you and they know the things they shouldn't do, but they're still there waiting.
Think they know things they don't.
Yeah. They're just there waiting just in case you're needed.
I've got children myself now, and I feel very lucky that they can have quite a lot of independence. It's tricky, kind of working out what the balance is, but if they're out, I know that someone will know where they are, and if something happens, if they fall off their bike, for example, I know that somebody will contact me straight away. And they know that because they know that's my child and they know where to find me, and they would scrape them off the road and take them to the hospital, because that's the kind of community that we live in.
And you do that for other kids as well. It's this thing, isn't it, over here, that when you're out and there's other kids, you're always keeping an eye on everyone's a bit, aren't you?
What's the saying, that it takes a village to raise a child? And I do feel that over here that we are very lucky to be able to...
we're just a bit closer, aren't we?
Then
but also on the other side, if you do anything wrong, you know that your mum's going to know before you can get back home. So you have to be careful. I'm going to ask you, what Salonian traditions...
Oh, thanks, Kylie.
Because I want to learn more. What Salonian traditions do you know, or what do you take part in?
I mean, there is the winkling on the Good Friday, which we've discussed, that I don't really do. Because have you ever tasted a winkle? They taste like bogies.
Yeah, they're funny, aren't they? Solomon loves them. He likes them salty and slimy and disgusting. He eats them all. The odd bit of sand as well.
I'm not a very good person for this because things like shrimping, I like the idea of it, but I took the kids shrimping in the summer a couple of years ago. And then we boiled them and I nearly cried because one of them had like loads of little eggs, and then that's all the kids remember is that, you know, we were all distraught about killing this pregnant shrimp and eating it. So, yes, perhaps save that for somebody else.
Yeah. There must be lots of other traditions that we naturally do that we don't realise are a Salonian thing.
Yeah, I mean, when you were talking about the rowing earlier, that, again, it's just rowing, isn't it?
It's so much
think about
entwined into our lives that we don't think about what we're doing. Yeah. I'm
sure it will come up when we're speaking to people. We'll realise, oh yes, we do that, and
yeah.
I mean, there's lots of things I didn't even realise, like you know, punts, for example, going out in the punt. Apparently, that's just a Salonian word.
Yeah, I never heard it before I moved here. Yeah,
I never knew that.
Yeah, when I started working for your dad, he was like talking about punts. I was like, does he mean dinghy? But yeah. Right, so the final question which we like to ask everyone before we leave, and I think I've probably asked it to you anyway, is what do you really love about being on Scilly?
I think for me it's what I was saying earlier about the highs, you know, are really high, really amazing. You know, the long summer evenings when you go for a swim with your friends and have a barbecue on the beach with your family.
Yeah.
It's just...
And it's not far to go home, is it? It's, magnified.
It's just amazing.
Yeah, how lucky are we?
We are incredibly lucky.
Yeah.
And I do think that every day. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed that episode. Stay tuned for the next one.
You can keep up to date by subscribing to the podcast, following us on social media, which is at Scilly Stories Podcast, or me, Salakee Farm, and Erica Hicks Prince. Links to all of these in the show notes.